right, second graders, we are here with our next science lesson, and you might notice that it says lesson 5, even though yesterday we did lesson 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The reason for that is that this is a really big unit, and we have decided which lessons ahead of time that we're going to teach so that we can make sure to get through the whole thing with enough time. So we are going to have you guys skip ahead to lesson 5, which is on pages 13 and 14, and it's called Wearing Away. We're going to learn a little bit more about erosion. So the first thing I want to do is look at these two pictures.
Okay.
It looks very similar. There's a few differences, and I noticed that this one was photographed in 1940, this one in 2010, so 50 years difference.
Wow.
It's a big difference. So we want to write down a couple of the differences we've seen between the two images. So what is your immediate notice? What do you notice immediately about them that's different?
Well, I'm noticing that this one is black and white. I'm noticing that this one is in color.
Yep.
And I see that, like, in this picture, there's an extra little piece here.
Oh, yes.
That doesn't exist over here. And it actually looks like this one is a little thicker and wider, like especially here in the narrowest part. It kind of looks like a head on a person
on a
almost.
neck or something?
Yeah, so like if that were the neck, I would say that the neck is fatter here than it is here.
Okay. So over time, it looks like pieces of this rock have gotten smaller, whittled away, and some entire structures have disappeared.
Yeah.
And one is in color and one is in black and white. So those are things, we're not going to write it down for you, but those are some things that we want you guys to write down here. We want you to write at least 2 differences you see. That can be the colors of the pictures and some of the things we see and don't see compared to those 50-year apart images. Nice. So take a minute, write down at least 2 differences you see between the picture, push pause, and then when you're done writing those down, push play again so we can move forward. Okay, now you have pushed pause. You wrote them down, and now you're on play again. So Smart Part, can you switch the input so we can see some more cool things? Okay, so we've talked about this image before. This is the image that we saw. It's in an ocean. It looks like there's a really cool looking hole in this rock that's in the water. I would like you to scroll down a little bit because there's something kind of cool underneath of it. So when we look at this page, what we see, these are not in order. We want to put them in order. These are 3 pictures of the same location taken several years apart.
How cool.
Yeah. And what I want you to do, Miss Marquardt, is to figure out which image do you think was taken first, which was taken second, and which was taken last or most recently.
Wow, this is tricky because they don't even look like the same picture. All right, so I'm just going to talk about some things that I'm noticing.
Okay.
First of all, 2 of them are in black and white, and that gives me a little bit of information that maybe they were taken a long time ago. This one is in color, so I'm thinking maybe it's the most recent, but let's just see. I noticed the hole is pretty big here.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a hole here. And a really big hole over here.
That hole looks bigger than this hole though, right?
It does.
So that doesn't make sense.
I'm thinking this hole
probably the same as this.
Must be the same as that one.
But then over here there's 3.
That's confusing. I'm thinking it's going to be one of these.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still thinking. All right, I'm wondering if maybe what happened is this used to be the whole wall. And then, you know, I'm going to call it a wall. It's a rock. And eventually it came down. Like, it maybe started with a little hole, and then it got
a little
bigger, and then eventually it just, like, disappeared.
I think you're right, Miss Marquardt.
Okay.
Can you scroll down one more time and we'll verify that? Well, look at that. So this is the first image taken, and you were right. It started out over here as a smaller hole. It got bigger as the water kept pounding against it year after year after year. And then eventually, it completely took away the entire section of that wall to create 2 separate rocks, which is why now this one looks like it's floating when it used to be connected.
That's so cool. But I'm noticing now that hole keeps getting bigger.
That hole keeps getting bigger. So do you think maybe in 100+ years that this might entirely go away?
I think it's possible.
That's pretty cool.
I hope I'm around to find out.
I do too. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to switch back, and we have these cards that we need to put in order. You'll notice at the bottom of your page, it says that we need to sort the cards and put them in order of, just like we did with those 3 pictures of the natural bridges, we need to put these 5 cards in order from oldest to most recent. So, okay.
A little glare on that.
There's a lot going on here. I noticed that the A and the D card are the same as the pictures at the top of our page, which is kind of cool. So those are the smallest version of the rock. And from the one we just did with those other 3 that got whittled away over the ocean pounding against it, we noticed that they started out really big and they eventually got smaller and smaller as the ocean beat against it. Here there's no water, but we know that the wind is like throwing rock and sand against it, and that's what's making these get smaller.
So these must A and D must be toward the end.
Toward the end.
All right, let's just move them around a little bit.
And we know that D is in color and A is in black and white, so probably D is the most recent. Okay, so that leaves us with B, E, and C. So they're all kind of cartoon drawings because maybe there just wasn't photography back when this, originated.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
So we need to find the picture that's like, if we want the earliest picture, it needs to be the most formed wall that hasn't been eroded away yet. So which of these looks like the most complete wall?
Well, it looks like this one has the most amount of rock or wall before the wind or water started to erode it. So I'm going to move that to the front.
Okay, so B is first. Now we're left with C and E. It looks like C is kind of closer in size of A and D, and E looks like closer to B, like it's more of a formed wall. So maybe we can swap those.
Switch them.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're right. I think that looks good. So maybe we can put these card letters in order. You guys copy this on yours. So it looks like B was first. It's the oldest complete wall, followed by E, then C, then A, and then our most recent picture of that structure is D. All right, great job. Thank you for your help. You guys were just so helpful in us sorting those cards just now. Let's jump up and do the challenge together. It says, what will the landform look like many years in the future? Well, it's convenient that this picture is right here next to it, because that's the most recent picture we have, which is 11 years old, okay? This one right here. I was taken in 2010. It's 2021 now, guys. So what do you think is going to happen to this in the future? What will it look like?
I'm worried the head might fall off.
I think you're right.
Because it's getting pretty skinny.
It's getting smaller and smaller. Eventually the head's going to fall off, and then maybe even the rest of it will just come down, huh?
Yeah, or maybe it's just going to get, like, maybe I'll do it right before the head falls off.
Or it's just kind of hanging there. It's like super skinny. All right, so you're just sketching your ideas. You don't even really have to write anything down. Just sketch what you think this is going to look like in the future when more time has passed and more wind has been hitting it. And finally, reflect. If you visited the landform and then went back a week later, what would you see? Do you think it would look different?
Well, we talked about how some erosion can happen quickly.
Like a volcano.
Like a volcano.
Erupting.
Or a flood. Or a tree breaking and falling down. And we talked about other erosion takes a really, really long time. Like rocks.
Rocks changing shape, right?
So
if we went
a week,
I don't think that's enough time for us to notice a change.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So maybe we could give them a sentence starter here. Like, if I went back.
So if you went back a week later, what do you guys think? I would see a huge change and the head would have fallen off? Probably not. Or maybe I wouldn't see any change because it takes a lot longer than a week for rock to erode naturally. Yeah. Right. That's all we're going to give you. We kind of just gave you the answer, so hopefully you were listening. That's going to end our science lesson for Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow with our next one.